man, I hear this a lot, is folks are like, oh, I don't want to invite my work friends with my climbing friends. These are my two separate groups. I can't imagine that these people are going to get along. I say, you got to mix the buckets. I promise you are the through line, and you will be shocked at the people who are going to get along.
I want to be completely authentic and open, and I don't want there to be this here's Ryan, the version of Ryan at work, and he's different than the Ryan at home. Like I want those need to be integrated.
Running a business can often be a lonely endeavor, and that when you operate from the surplus mindset that, look, I'm not competing, there's enough pie here to go all around the table. We all 100%. Can be part of this rising tide. That getting people together like this, it's just, especially for business owners, it's so helpful.
Hey, on this episode of the podcast, we are talking about the power of hosting a simple and affordable event, even if you're not an extrovert. We also talk about building your community, making an impact, and being fulfilled, all while growing your business. What is up, my friend? Hey, it is Ryan from the Grow Your Video Business show. This show, actually, and Studio Sherpas. I am so excited that you're here. I'm really excited about this episode. This one was really fun because it's something that I actually did. The 2-hour cocktail party. You'll hear the story, but this is fresh, and I think you're gonna see some ways that you can build your network and start adding value and create some momentum. If you stress out about thinking about going to networking events or whatever, this, I think you're gonna like and appreciate this format, and it is something that everybody can do. So that's gonna be great. If you're new to the show, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I've been running my own video production business for the past 20 years, and it has not always been easy. Can you imagine? So if you are a video business owner, you're in the right spot. This is the show where we talk about all of the business of video production. We don't really dive into storytelling or editing or any of that fun stuff, gear, all of that really exciting stuff. We talk about taxes and invoices and profitability. Well, we don't really talk. Well, no, I guess we do kind of talk about, I was gonna say taxes, invoices. We kind of do. Whatever we can do in our businesses to create efficiencies, to build momentum, to create sustainability, so that we can do this work, because it is super fun, it is super fulfilling, but it can also be super stressful. In over 20 years, my goodness, have I made a lot of mistakes, but I've also learned a lot about business. I've read literally hundreds of books. I have so many friends that are so skilled and talented in running businesses, and I bring in experts. Sometimes you just get me, and I just want to be able to pour into you and to help you, because I believe that this work is very important, and I want you to be able to do it for a really long time. So that's why I do this work. If you are interested at all in AI and how it's impacting our industry, you should listen to the most previous episode. I think it's the most previous one, where I do kind of share some of my thoughts on AI, but I also have a download, because here's the thing, I've got a friend who's he's doing video stuff and he is afraid of AI, and I'm like, bro, you can save a lot of time. There's a lot of work that you're doing in the work that you have in front of you that you just, man, get some of your time back. Use these tools, learn them. So if you're interested, I've got a resource where we kind of list out some of the favorites AI tools that you or people in this community have submitted, and then I've shared some of my favorite ones on this list, and you can get access to that completely free resource if you go to studiosherpas.com/AI. That is studiosherpas.com/AI, and get access to that free document, period. I was gonna say question mark, but that wouldn't make sense. So I am so glad that you're here. I hope you enjoy this episode, and would love to hear any feedback on it after you consume it, okay? All right, guess what? Hey, real quick, I just want you to know, I am so excited right now because it is the day before I leave for vacation with my family. We're going to Cancun. You guys, I am so ready to get a break. I have been working really, really hard. I mean, this year and all last year, I feel like I've just been all hands on deck. And my encouragement to you, whatever season you're at in life, rest is so important. So whenever my team takes a break, goes on vacation, we always pat them on the back and say, good job making time for yourself, for your own mental health, and just for your body's rhythm. So I'm doing it. You should do it too. That's all. I just want to share some of my excitement and it also encourage you to, hey, take a vacation, okay? All right, let's get into the episode now. What's up, friends? Welcome to another episode of the show. With me today is none other than Mr. Nick Gray, who is the founder of Museum Hack and the author of The 2-Hour Cocktail Party, a book which, if you listen to me at all on social or anywhere else, you probably have heard me talking about reading it and then actually doing it. So very fitting that we have Nick on the show today. Nick, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So you wrote this book, and in the mastermind I'm a part of, there was a woman, Dana, who read it. She's like sharing, and I'm like, 2-hour cocktail party. I'm like, you throw the word party after anything, and I'm like leaning in, like, tell me more. Am I invited? Can I come? Can I host one? Can I do one? And she just explained, like, she's like, there's this format for how to run up, and I'm just thinking, I'm like, a format? What do you mean? Like, I mean, I know how to throw a party. And anyway, she just loved, and she's like, and I got this text from Nick, and he was like coaching me along, and it was just amazing to hear from the author, and he was like super excited for my party. I'm like, oh, dude, this is amazing. Ordered the book, plowed through the book, and actually, no, I ordered the Audible book. Those mean the same thing to me. Got through the book, reached out, downloaded the cool couple of the freebies that Nick offers, and Nick ends up sending me a text like, dude, like, tell me more about the party. When is it? Their team sent follow-up emails, and I just felt supported, which is like so weird because I've never really like thrown a party and had anybody supporting me and just like, yeah, you just do it and it happens. So to have your team kind of rooting me along the way, I just thought was so good. And the little reminders along the way, we did the event, and I was really impressed with, a few of the nuances and things that you share in the book. Or I'm like, I've never really thought about that. And even, just the idea of icebreakers. I love icebreakers. You know that I was a camp counselor forever ago. And so like, that's just my world. So many of my friends, just when they see me hosting anything, they're like, okay, certainly Ryan's going to do something that's going to be corny or cheesy or make us uncomfortable somehow. But we love him anyway. So anyway, the work that you've done has been so good. And I know it's reaching people and people are doing it. So congrats on all of that. How does it feel to kind of be making this kind of an impact?
It's cool to talk with you. So my goal is for people to host more events. And I think that I got so many benefits in my own life from hosting events to build my network. And that phrase, by the way, to build your network, it's such a dirty phrase, right? But it can mean friends in your neighborhood. It can mean meeting people that you want to get to know better. It can mean contacts professionally. But that idea of widening your circle or growing your world through more people that you see. And for people like you, who I'm guessing are very social, you probably have a different sort of problem. It's not meeting new people, but it's staying in touch with all the people that you do meet.
Totally. Yep.
And I talk to people all the time that are very public facing. Oh my God, how many invites do they get for like, oh, we should get coffee, we should get lunch, we should get dinner sometime. Yeah. It's impossible to do that. And I found that hosting a little happy hour, maybe once a quarter, served as a way to get people into that bucket to see them. And the best way to run that well, so that it didn't feel like I was just dumping them into a bucket, and this is important, is you have to throw a good event for them.
Yeah.
And there's many ways to throw a good event. The most popular way is to feed them.
Right.
But I found that that, almost anybody can feed people, but what was actually better was helping them meet new people as well. Mm-hmm. And so that's truly the purpose of these parties that I hope you saw with the structure, which I hope you got some nice messages from people afterwards saying it was a good party, because the intent is to mix your different buckets in life.
Yeah.
Your question was, though, how does it feel? It feels awesome. It feels amazing. And I think if I even stopped back to look at all the parties and people like you, it would be overwhelming. But for the moment, I'm just like head down. I'm so close to my 500 goal. And I'm just focused on that.
Yeah. Where are you at? How many do you have right now?
You were 461. I think we're around that 460 or something, or 431 or something. So we're getting close. It's exciting.
Yeah, that was one of the things that Nick had written in the book, is that his goal is to hit 500 parties hosted by other people. And I wasn't sure where I'd be. I'm like, I know he's getting close, so it'd be fun if I was the 500th. But super cool on the success, and even your story about, I think you had moved to New York and you didn't know anybody. Am I close to getting that right? And so you're just trying to figure out.
Moved to New York and didn't know many people and didn't want to ride in the coattails of my friend's success. Basically wanted to create my own friends and network and connections, and decided that I had to do something on my own. I tried to go to networking events and stuff. I just was never successful at those. So I decided to host my own and learn a better way for how to make those connections happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the thing that I appreciated, I did get the day after multiple texts from people that were just amazing party. Half of the people were just friends that, live in our town. And the other half were people that I've either done business with or kind of, we've been in the business space together. So it was this cool, eclectic. Some people worked full time and other people didn't. One person was out of a job, and I was so glad that you even said hey, instead of having people share what do they do for a living, think about those people that might not, have a job. And so just how do you spend your time during the day, right? Was the question. And so that's just it's very thoughtful. You've kind of thought through all of the different scenarios, very similar to how when I do an event, I am thinking, I'm a producer. So I'm okay, what can go wrong? What do we need to be prepared for? And, filmmakers, this is what we do. You think about, we're going to be on set, what's the backup plan? Do we have backup cards? Do we have a backup camera? Do we have a backup lens? We got to just think through all of the potential scenarios. And you've done this and have become an expert on how do you take this this event and just ensure that you've got all the things that you need, and you've got the checklist, and for how much food to get for how many people, and don't I just love how simple you made it. My wife, for better or worse, was oh, cool, we're gonna host, and she spent I was like, hey, can you get a couple of things? Here's, Nick's shopping list of things. Dude, she spent hours in the kitchen making these amazing dips and just doing what she does. And then we had a couple of cancellations, and she also didn't do the math correctly. And she's like, wow, we have a lot of stuff left over. We didn't realize how much people wouldn't eat. So yeah, for 4 days we were eating charcuterie, which was fine. It was fine. No complaints over here.
But that's one of the things that new hosts, there's two things I thought about that new hosts struggle with. Number one is they make and provide too much food, and they think that the act of hosting is the act of feeding. And in some cultures, I understand that.
Yeah.
But the thing that I say is, look, I'd rather have someone leave my party hungry rather than bored. And as I think about some of the best events that I've been to, I think I'm often eating when I'm bored. That we eat and we drink when there's really nothing else to do. And we're just go nosh and go snack over here or something. And really good events, have you ever done that where you've met somebody, you're like, oh my God, I forgot to eat. Or you're so busy at work, right? You're like, oh God, I haven't eaten yet.
Yeah.
So number one is folks overwhelmingly buy too much food and spend not nearly as much time on the introductions and the connections and the guest list and thinking about those kind of new connections to be created. And number two is, you said something neat. The people you invited Some were employed, some were unemployed, some were business owners. Man, I hear this a lot, is folks are like, oh, I don't want to invite my work friends with my climbing friends. You know, these are my two separate groups. I can't imagine that these people are going to get along. I say, you got to mix the buckets. I promise you, you are the through line, and you will be shocked at the people who are going to get along. Not everybody is going to become best friends, but there will be some people who hit it off that are going to blow your mind, and you're going to hear weeks later, oh yeah, I've been hanging out with Jeremy. You're like, you hung out with Jeremy? What? Why? It's so funny.
That's good. My introduction to this idea of hosting as part of like my business strategy, for lack of a better word, I went to an event in 2018, and Mike Kim, very influential guy in my life, shared how he and a buddy would host these like very fancy kind of lunches at like a Capitol Grill, and they would invite like successful business leaders, and they would have like 2 or 3 questions. They'd be together for an hour and a half. They'd have 2 or 3 questions and let everybody go around the circle and answer the questions. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We've got this beautiful studio that we work out of. And I'm like, this is like, we've got like a kitchen dining area, big table. I could fit like 12 people at this table. I can do this. So I've hosted a number of breakfasts at our studio, and it's been an opportunity for me to invite clients and get FaceTime with them. And, outside of like, we're working on a project together, I'm sending them a proposal. We're crossing our fingers, hoping that we get the job. And just like, hey, I'm human, you're human. Like, let's have some friendly time together and really get to know each other. Your format, you're like, hey, like host this at your home. And I was like, wow, this is kind of next level. I haven't ever invited clients, unless they were friends beforehand, to my house. I'm like, this is weird. But I will say, like, I was able to extend that invitation to a couple of like our biggest clients, and they couldn't make it, but there was this sense of even them getting that invitation, they felt like, wow, like I just got invited to Ryan's house, and I'm thinking like, they would never come to my house because they're a client and they've got bigger fish to fry, but they truly were grateful, and I feel like it did something positive. I would love for you to just spend a minute or however long you want to, but to just talk about how your approach is unique, and definitely more unique than my style of like having this breakfast and just like 3 questions. We go around. I mean, it's like, an hour is gone and like that. So you've got 2 hours, and the format, you break things up intentionally, and talk more about the philosophy behind that, because I really, really saw this in action, and it was really cool.
Well, the home thing is a big piece of it. And the home thing, I have a whole chapter, in fact, at the beginning of the book dedicated to why you should host at your home, even if your home is not big enough or in the best location or a variety of other excuses. Trust me, I've heard every single excuse, talked to a lot of people. When you host in your home, it is such a vulnerable act to bring someone into your personal space, and it really shifts the relationship from a transactional, hey, let's meet at this bar. There's so much that's going on with hosting at your home. It is more personal. It's more generous by the very nature that you're not clearing a tab at a bar. People don't have to pay. You're truly giving them something. It's more intimate. It's usually smaller. And it just shifts the energy just dramatically. From a meetup at a bar that's like, very much a work networking thing, to being inside your home. And I think about how people talk about when you have conversations and a phone is out on the table, and how that completely shifts the energy. People are much less willing to be vulnerable or go deep. And that happens when you host at a bar or a restaurant or something like that. That's what I find, at least. And so hosting at home really is a key thing that I think is unique in my formula. There are other things, like I experiment with hosting, and if you can't host at home, you could host at a hotel lobby, for example. I wouldn't host it at a bar or not at a restaurant. You can absolutely host at an office like you've done. There are strange things that happens in offices. Offices generally have much more open floor plans than homes do. An office gathering with 10 or 15 or 20 or 20, even 30 people can actually feel pretty empty and sparse because of the nature of the space.
Yeah.
So I have some videos on my YouTube channel. I help people and I say, hey, look, we're going to put some blockers, kind of constrict the space, things like that. But that's number one, is the venue. Number two is having a strict start time and an end time. And I think that might be something that folks might not be used to, which is having an end time. And most people don't do this, and it's a big mistake because it causes this shifted window of attendance for when is acceptable to show up. It sort of extends what I call the awkward zone. I'd be curious to know from your own event, what time did you host it from?
Started at 7, was supposed to end at 9.
Right. But you listed that it was 7 to 9, right? Whether
I did. Yep.
you actually ended it at 9, we can talk about, but you listed it as 7 to 9. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. What time did most people show up, or what time?
Yeah, so I think we had 3 people by about like 10 after 7. It like the first person didn't show up till like 7:05, 7:06, and I'm like, guys, come on, we only got 2 hours together. And then by like 7:10, 7:12, I think we had 3 people, and then the majority of people came right around 7:20. And then I even had somebody show up at like 7:45. I was like, oh my
really?
gosh. Yeah.
That's cool though. So 7:20 is what time most of them showed up. And did you send out the 3 reminder messages in advance?
I did. Yeah. All of the reminders, the
Good job.
RSVP, we use Mixly. So all that information was there. They were getting the reminders, and so they definitely had all of the details on when we ended.
Yeah. And what city do you live in?
We live in a town called Clarkston, which is about 45 minutes north of Detroit.
Fascinating. The reason I say fascinating is because I think it's curious that most people didn't show up till 7:20. And it could just be a function of the first party, and there's not sort of a lot to read into it. But a lot of my readers say that almost everybody is there by 7:15, 7:20, something like that. And I don't want to nitpick, because for the average listener, they're like, why is he freaking out about 7:20? Most of my people don't show up till an hour later, right?
Right.
And that's what happens at most events. You list an event to start at 7, and people say, well, I'm not going to show up at 7, or I'm going to show up at 8.
Right.
Well, then it's very awkward for the people who show up at the beginning, and nobody really knows. Long story short, this 2-hour limit helps to compress the awkward zone, and it gives people the permission to leave early or to leave on time, to just pop in. It lets them know, look, this is not an all-night bender thing. 7 to 9, I'm kicking you out at 9. And that allows people, it makes it easier to say yes. Because another key part of my formula is hosting it on ideally a Tuesday or Wednesday night.
Yeah.
What night did you do yours on?
Tuesday night.
Nice. How'd it go? Was it okay?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's during the week, so we've got kids, and I think our daughter kind of put herself to bed that night. Everybody had work, the next day, except for the one person who didn't have a job.
Right.
So, with the aim of 9 o'clock, that's, in my mind, that's like the perfect time. Everybody, the furthest person that lived maybe 30 minutes most away from our house. So getting home at like 9:30, 9:45 on a work night or a school night is like totally acceptable.
Yeah. We're getting into kind of the specifics and the tactics here, but I want to say that the book that I wrote was originally designed for people perhaps not like yourself. It sounds like you're a natural host and you host a lot. You have that camp counselor energy.
Yeah.
This book really has been embraced by kind of the introvert community.
Yeah.
That wants to host, or that has a lot of anxiety around hosting.
Yep.
There may be people who get invited to a lot of things, but they never think of themselves as hosts. And what I learned was that this is a skill that you can get better at. And nobody had truly written down the steps on how to host. Now, by the way, there's other things you can host. You can host dinner parties, game nights, birthday parties, all these things. It doesn't have to be a cocktail party. You don't even have to drink alcohol. I would be willing to bet that at your party, folks drank a lot less than you may have imagined. That happens at a lot of parties.
Yeah. Yep.
But we use that phrase cocktail party because it really encompasses the idea of a lightweight social gathering that's easy to show up to, and you know you're going to mix and mingle and talk to a lot of different folks. So there's a lot going on here, but my goal is to get more people hosting, and I want people to create more in-person community. And if you're listening to this as a business owner, know that these things can be insanely powerful for recruiting, for sales, for a lot of other stuff. I mean, you mentioned something, Ryan. Even the act of inviting clients, even that they didn't come, felt like a net positive interaction for you. You gave them the gift of that invitation. Even if they didn't show up, you have now given them something, and they're like, wow, thank you so much for inviting me. These invites, by the way, I found that everyone wants to be invited to a party. And people are thankful for these invites. So there's a lot to talk about. I want to hear more about your party. Was there anything that surprised you? Do you think that you'll do it again? And if you do it again, what will you change? How will you add your style to this?
Yeah. The harmonica. So Nick mentions, hey, you should use a harmonica. So I bought a harmonica on Amazon, $7. This is amazing. And because of the spirit, like if you know me, if you're one of my friends, I just like to, I find something that can be a little bit annoying, and I just like to, I like to be that guy that's a little bit annoying. So having the harmonica was amazing. And when people started talking too long during the icebreaker, I would pretend like I'm reaching in my pocket to grab the harmonica, and they'd be like, oh, he's going for it. And so it just became a joke. And so I thought even the nuance of the harmonica to break things up, to get people to gather in the circle. That's the point, so that it's a cocktail party with icebreaker questions, right? That's what makes it so beautiful. And my wife afterwards said, this was awesome. I mean, we've hosted so many things together, and she really loved how vulnerable people got with the questions. So that's the one thing I want people to take away is the format, whether you're extroverted like me or introverted, to have a roadmap to say, here's how you do it from start to finish. These are all the things. You don't have to be like, have all the stories or be super charming like me. Okay. You can do this. And the beautiful part is like, you are the facilitator and you get people talking by giving them these prompts. I think my favorite part from the book and what I saw in person is all these side conversations happen, right? Two people start talking, or three people, and I think we had like 15 people there. And so there's all these separate conversations happening. Blow the harmonica, a third of the way through. Hey, we're gonna gather, we get in a big circle. Okay, first question, first icebreaker, share your name, what you do during the day, and then what do you eat for breakfast? What's your favorite breakfast, thing? So everybody goes around, right? And then it's like, okay, cool, get back to doing your thing. And then if people want to continue those conversations that they were having, they can, or they can feel like, okay, like here's my escape. This is my, I'm going to go to the restroom and then hopefully find a different group of people to talk to. Or if you're like me, like I want to talk to every person there. So it's a perfect segue. Like I'll just, I'll get stuck hearing somebody's story and realize, oh my gosh, this person's a talker. I'm never going to get out of here. So to have the evening broken up with the icebreakers, I think is so brilliant because it gives those people that are afraid of offending somebody or like, how do I get out of this conversation? That's the out. And then, the other two questions, you get deeper into the evening, and the other two questions are a little bit deeper and a little bit more thoughtful. The thing I didn't do that you recommended was doing the first question 2 times. I didn't do it because I had so many people that were showing up late, and it was just like, I was like, I want to get into the heart, and I know most of these people, so I went a little bit deeper the second question, and the second question was, I used what's your favorite piece of media that you're consuming right now? And so everybody shared different books and podcasts, and it was like, wow, it was really powerful because some of these people were very passionate about the thing that they're listening to or consuming. And then the final question that I asked that evening was, what's one thing that you are most proud of yourself for? And that got very emotional. And it was really beautiful. Because we when I first said the question, I mistakenly said, what's something that you're really proud of? And the first guy that went was talking about his wife, who was in Uganda at the time. She didn't come to the meeting, but he was just talking about how proud he was of her for going and taking this time away from the family. It's hard and all this stuff, but it's so good. And then I said, after he finished, I said, okay, for everybody else, and then we'll come back to you, Mark, share something you're proud of yourself of, because we just don't do that. Right, we feel like it's braggadocious. We don't spend enough time thinking about the wins that we have, or letting people know this is kind of where I'm at. So It was really cool to hear people take that time to think about. And I've got another one scheduled for next month, middle of April.
Oh, really?
And I mean, the cadence for me, I'm like, we could do this like every other month. It didn't cost a lot of money. I mean, my wife definitely spent more on food than she should have, but it's fine, whatever. We've got, plenty of alcohol left over. So to do it every other month, in my mind, I'm like, it's an easy lift. It's one night,
yes,
couple of hours, some planning time. I locked in our calendar this morning. I created Partify or whatever the other website was that you sent me.
Yes.
Cool website to build that out. I've got a long list of people that I've wanted to invite to breakfast or lunch or whatever. So I already have a great list that I'm working from. So for me to send out a text or an email to those people, that's going to be very easy. As far as format though, I think the only thing I'm going to do different next time is make sure in the PS, like, hey, try to get here as close to 7 as possible, because you're gonna be surprised at how fast the time goes by, and I don't want you to miss any of the fun that we're gonna have together. So I think outside of that, like the format that you've created, it's so easy to follow. It just works.
So I love it. One suggestion for that is to get more people to show up on time, create a little bit of an agenda on the RSVP page that might list something like
That's good.
7 p.m., welcome and name tags, 7:10 p.m. First icebreaker, right? 7:15, mix and mingle. 7:30, second icebreaker, something like that. I love the last question that you did. I love that you're off to the races and thinking about how to do this every other month. The benefits on this compound. I don't have to tell you this, but for listeners, the benefits will compound. When I originally wrote this book, one of the challenges at the beginning was going to be to host 3 parties over 4 months, and I would guarantee that it would change your life. And that was a hard challenge, right? For a lot of people to, frankly, to even read a book that they bought was a large challenge. And especially for nonfiction, right? They say that most business books die on the shelves, and somebody buys it and they just never read it. So I winded it down to just, hey, host your first party. The challenge is, will you set a date to host your first party? And then I'll help you out from there.
Yep.
But, oh my God, I think you're going to it sounds like you have an amazing network now already. I'm really curious to see how this enriches that network of what I call acquaintances, frankly. It's those people that and you see in town, and you'd call them an acquaintance. Maybe you frankly see them once a year or so. When you start to host these events, this is going to really boost this network of connections. And why this is helpful is that we've actually found that the best business opportunities and best new connections come not from our best friends, but from this network of acquaintances, what they call loose connections or weak ties. You may have heard about that thing. It's called the power of weak ties. That means that new hires, investors, clients, we don't find them from our best friends, but it's from that random LinkedIn post, that random person you met at a conference 4 years ago who happens to share something on LinkedIn, or from the neighbor who mentions in passing, oh yeah, I think such and such something. That is what's so powerful about hosting these events. And then there's also just the benefit of community of like you and your wife said, like, oh my God, we got to hang out with these people. Yeah, we're going to follow up. We'll have dinner with this couple. Maybe I'll meet this person up for a cup of coffee. But what an awesome way. And not only do you and your wife get benefit, but I hope listeners are hearing all the guests get benefit, because they're meeting all these incredibly new people.
Totally.
And that's the next step that I felt like most party hosting wasn't focused on. It was only about the benefit of the host, perhaps. or the attendees individually through feeding them. But really the benefit comes when you're creating all these interconnections and contacts amongst your network.
Yeah, 100%. And that's like all of those people, I've been introducing people to each other for years because I have so many amazing friends that are in business and not. And they, if I'm the common denominator there, that is just like, it ends up being a cool thing. Right. So fulfilling for me, but also like relationally, it's a good thing. People for whatever reason feel like they owe you something, and not that we're trying to like create that, but it just naturally is an overflow. And as a business owner, inviting people into my home, that might sound really scary to you as you're listening to this. I've just seen like, I want to be completely authentic and open, and I don't want there to be this like, here's Ryan, the version of Ryan at work, and he's different than the Ryan at home. Like I want those need to be integrated, and I can really feel like I'm living open-handedly, like I want to. I can live 100% authentically, and let people know, hey, I don't have it. You see my driveway, like the plow truck from the snow, it's just mud and dirt and, stuff's everywhere. And, not everything's perfect. It's never gonna be. It's about starting. It's about like doing the thing. And that's where you're gonna reap the most reward. So really thankful, Nick, for the work that you've done. I mean, I got through the book and I was like, yeah, I could write something like this. But I'm so thankful for the nuances and the format. Like you made it so stinking easy for anybody who's done this 100 times or never has done it. It is step by step, and introvert or extrovert, like you can do this for the health of your business for sure. The value of community, man, I'm all about that. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that at the very end. So grateful for you, man. Anything you want to leave us with today before we go on to our next party?
I didn't get to hear, what's that event that you host every year?
The event that I host at our studio, it's called the Onward Summit, and it is for filmmakers that are looking to grow their video business. And we've had anywhere from 12 to 40 people in attendance. This year will be our 5th year, possibly the final year, or we're going to completely change the format because it's hard to host. It's hard to host a really nice event with speakers that come from all over the world. And to like make money, haven't yet figured out how to make the money part. Yeah, so
brutal.
But yeah, that has been super fun to bring amazing speakers, but then to see the connections that are created. And again, like for me to stand back and to watch these friendships develop and these networks deepen, and to feel like I'm responsible like for some part of this, and that feels really, really cool.
There's a new format I've been experimenting with, which is these half-day mastermind. I don't know what to call it. I hate to use the word mastermind, but kind of is.
VIP day?
It's like a half-day mini conference. I've been doing them from 1 to 5 p.m. I need to schedule and do another one again. And I wonder if it might be neat to swap notes on something like this.
Yeah.
Similar number of people, about 15 to 25 or so. And it's really getting in that 1 to 5 p.m. time slot, out of the happy hour mindset of like, oh, this is fun, whatever.
Yeah.
Into like, hey, there's going to be some learning. I do 1 to 5 p.m., by the way, because then I don't have to provide food and catering and all this other stuff.
Nice. Yep.
But you're very savvy on this, and you understand that power of connection. And I just find that we're so digitally saturated. Running a business can often be a lonely endeavor. And that when you operate from the surplus mindset that, look, I'm not competing, like there's enough pie here to go all around the table. We all 100%. Can be part of this rising tide. That getting people together like this, it's just, especially for business owners, it's so helpful.
Yeah, I love that, man. I also love that we're both wearing green, and it was just St. Patrick's Day. So
this is St. Patrick's Day week. We got this green. We're still rocking the green.
You look a little more Irish than I am. Or wait, no, you look more than I do. I got plenty of Irish in me. So Yes. Anyway, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Where can people find the book? Where can they follow you online, etc.?
The name of my book, it's called The 2-Hour Cocktail Party. I recorded the Audible myself, so you can check that out. It's on Audible, it's on Amazon. We just launched the hardcover. And then I'm online. I post a lot on social media. I'm at Nick Gray News. That's NickGray News, NEWS.com. And I'll send to Ryan some links that can be included in the show notes about that half-day conference that I hosted, about how to host a networking event, sort of a step-by-step guide of some things that I have, and some other resources that you can find there. I'm just passionate about trying to get people to host more. I think it'll make the communities better that we're all in, and I got so much benefit, I'd love to give back.
So good.
By the way,
yes,
it'd be so funny if I had sort of an upsell. If I was like, by the way, buy my name tags for this.
Right.
And with a lot.
Well, hey, I mean,
right?
Nick Gray name tags. Hey, hi, my name is Nick Gray. Actually, it's not. Cross that off.
Yes. Just cross it off.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for spending time with us today, and good luck. Looking forward to, the next event that you and I are at together.
We'll do a collab. That'd be great. More parties in 2024.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you for hanging out with me on this episode. If you liked it, leave a comment, hit subscribe, do the things. Let me know what your big takeaway was. Are you gonna do one of these parties? Does this sound like, even if you're an introvert, does this sound like something you can do? Please know that this is something that you can do. My wife wouldn't call herself an introvert. She definitely loves like one-on-one conversation or like very small group conversation. That's like where she thrives. But going to a big party, she just doesn't, she's not crazy about that. She doesn't like getting stuck in a conversation. She doesn't like the feeling, she doesn't like going with me because I bounce around to all of the people. But hosting your own thing and following this format that Nick lays out, I think it is like one of the easiest and best ways. It's 2 hours. So the pain can stop after 2 hours, the bleeding. So anyway, I hope this is great for you. I would love your feedback as always. And if you've got ideas on other guests or topics, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me at ryan@studiosherpas.com. Also on the socials at Ryan Coral or at Grow Your Video Business. I'm gonna throw this out there too. Hey, first week of October, I'm hosting our 5th annual Onward Summit. It's for filmmakers. It's gonna be at our studio in Metro Detroit. It's like, I think it's gonna be Sunday through Wednesday, whatever that first week is. I'm just throwing this out there so you can start penciling it in your calendar. And I'm gonna be posting pretty soon, I think sometime in April, to say, hey, lock in your spot, like let's do this. There's a lot of planning that goes into this thing, and I just wanna make sure that you know when it is, you're putting it in your calendar, you're thinking about it ahead of time, because I would love to see you there. I'm throwing this out there too. This might be the last time I do this event. I mentioned that in this episode with Nick, but it may be the last time I'm doing this event, at least with the format that we've done in the past. It's tough, it's hard, and I've not made any money on it thus far. Have I come up even? Maybe. Have I lost money? For sure. But hey, it's all for a good cause, right? It's fine. It's fine. It's gonna be fine. Anyway, I appreciate you a ton, and I will talk to you really soon. See you. Bye for now.